Welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. We've got a brand new episode today, action-packed. Lots of drama has gone on over the last week concerning Wolves. Unfortunately, no Matt today. He's just had a minor surgery, but I'm sure he'll be all right. My name is Dave, and alongside me today, we've got Mr. Finn Morris. Finn, how are you keeping?
Wasn't offside, mate. Let's cut all this rubbish. I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, how are you?
All good, yeah, all good. And we've got Mr. Jord Russell. Jord, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good. I know you two boys made the trip to Anfield and a long journey back. And unfortunately, it wasn't, it was a good performance, but it wasn't quite worth it, was it, the long journey back? But I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about it. But yeah, we've got lots to talk about. Obviously, we've had the Villa and Liverpool game in the last week or so. We've got another two games coming up this week with Forest and West Ham. And obviously, got your questions at the end as well. But Villa Wolves, a game which, Villa have had a little upturning form under Unai Emery. Wolves started to find their feet a little bit, Jord, under Lopetegui, but it was unchanged from that United game. Were you surprised at that? We had Cunha ready, he came off the bench for a little bit during that game, but do you think he deserved a start in that match?
It's one of those things. I think on the podcast last week, I said I thought Costa would probably start again and ruffle a few feathers and give Cunha the last half hour, and that's sort of how it panned out. And I think there's a lot of people on social media moaning about the team, the lineup selection before the game, and looking at it. And I looked at it in myself and thought it probably wouldn't be the 11 I'd pick, but Lopetegui works for them day in, day out, and I think that first half performance shows you got it bang on the money. To be fair, we should have been well out of sight, and it's you look at the chances we missed in that first half. We should have come away from Villa Park with 3 points.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen it so often, I think, over the last, not just this season, but in the Nuno, we saw it a lot where we almost berate the team selection that they put out, and it tends to actually mean that we put in a half-decent performance. But like George said, Finn, first 45 minutes, I've seen some people say it's one of our best performances in sort of 12 to 18 months. What did you make of that, the first half?
It was certainly probably the best, 45 all season. I think I saw you around the time the teams came out, didn't I, at Villa Park, and we were fearing the worst. So yeah, real big surprise. I think with that attacking lineup, with not including Costa in this, but certainly the wingers, I think he's almost splitting the game up into sections. Right, let's almost Nuno-ish. Let's figure out this first half. So Hwang, for maybe he's not as good or exciting as Adama or whatever, he presses very well, and he's very intelligent in how he moves. I noticed, especially in the Everton game where he didn't play too well, but how he moved around, I was very impressed with, and just very intelligent with it. So whether that's going to be the starting team where it's sort of right, let's have these three as a starting 45 minutes and then go from there. But Podence did more than just move around well, scored a brilliant goal, and probably was the best 45 we've seen, certainly under Lopetegui, and probably the whole season.
Yeah. And the first half, the goal was coming, Jordan, and like Finn said, Podence, who seems to be a favourite for Lopetegui at the minute. Obviously, he's had a little knock, so he may come back into the team this week. We're not sure yet. But it was a brilliant goal, nice 1-2 with Martinho, and obviously took it really well. A little feint and a strike across Martinez. Top goal, one of the goals of the season so far for Wolves, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was just well worked, well manufactured. Obviously, come back out to Podence, and it's just really quick feet. I mean, he sold Douglas Luiz for a hot dog, and then it's a great finish. It was like a finesse finish on FIFA, just right in the side netting. Martinez didn't move, and we were well on top at that point in the game. And I think the only thing I can say is, I think if we'd have got in at half time, 2-3-0 up, I don't think any Villa fans would have been complaining about that first half. I've spoke to Villa fans saying they were embarrassing, they were poor, they were this, and actually, you know what? I think sometimes you've got to admit, like the other team were just very good, and we were very, very good in that first half, as good as anything I've seen. Like the only time this season I think we played as well as that in 45 minutes was Tottenham away. And again, we took our chances, and could have been 2-3 up there, and we went on and rued those missed chances and lost the game. But I can't knock that first half performance, and just a shame we didn't come away with the 3 points.
Yeah, it's been sort of a gradual improvement. I think even the Everton game under Lopetegui, yes, we won, but there were some elements of that game where we were a little bit sloppy. United, we were better. Obviously, Villa first half, and obviously the Liverpool game as well, which we'll talk about. Finn, a lot of debate still about Diego Costa, who led the line in that game, didn't play any part in the Liverpool games, had a little bit of a rest. But a lot of debate about him because obviously he's not producing the goals at the minute. But as a lone striker leading the line, he got a little bit of praise after that Villa game. What did you make of him?
Yeah, following on from that same 45 point, that it was a really good first half. You would say the only criticism is that we didn't score another goal, and maybe he leads to that in the lack of mobility. But everything else, I mean, I think George said last week what he'll do is he'll kick someone at some point. We'll all go Diego, and that's sort of his shift every week. And
it literally happened.
Yeah, he called it perfectly. So he's going to do that at the very least. But no, yeah, it wasn't his worst performance, and I think there is a good point there that if you do have him, and fast wingers, it will leave a defence confused. Because I remember Matt said the point when I felt a more mobile striker would be able to get him behind. He was saying, well, maybe that line was up from the opposition team because it's Costa. So you could try and confuse them there with, right, what do we do? Because we've got a guy that can't run, but two wingers that can bomb on and get him behind. So maybe it could form some sort of a plan, but probably was, again, like most of the team, it was one of his better performances. He still hasn't scored an official goal, has he? He got one in a friendly. And he is.
Which friendly did he score?
Birmingham, wasn't it?
Was it Birmingham?
Oh yeah, that we didn't even see that one, did we?
Yeah. So maybe he never has. They're just telling us. But no, yeah, he's really struggles with mobility, and you can see his best days are behind him. But for his performances, that's probably one of his best.
Yeah, and we saw. I would have been intrigued to see how he got on against Liverpool. To be fair, Jord, as well, because we played almost with an extra man up top, whether you classed it as a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1, 4-4-1-1, whatever you want to say. But Wolves looked really decent with that extra man forward, and whether it be Guedes, whether it be Cunha, or maybe even Podence behind you to give you a bit more support. I think Costa would have had a really decent effect against Liverpool as well. And in that second half, he was pressing and pressing. You could see in the end he was getting tired. He was lunging in for those tackles. And then after that booking, after we started chanting Diego, I was worried at one point he was going to get sent off as well. But yeah, what do you think? 4-4-2-ish, similar setup to what we played against Liverpool. I'm sure we'll talk about that shortly. But do you think Costa could work in that system? I know you've not been his biggest fan so far.
No, it's more so the fact of not being his biggest fan, but I just don't think he's ever going to score goals for us from what I've seen. But that Villa performance, it showed that the one thing you don't lose is like your touch and your physicality. And he was, he was like Diego of old. Granted, lost half a yard, like we know, but we knew that when we got him, we were in a desperate situation, and we both needed each other. I think, I think the credit to Diego Costa is he doesn't need to be here. He doesn't need to be playing football. Like he's probably made his money. He was in Brazil. He's come over here. He's trying his heart out. That's one thing you can say. Like I don't think I'll look at him and think, you know what, you don't care. Like we've had strikers that come at Wolves in the late 30 or mid to late 30, should I say, and just fucking get in a pay packet. Like he actually looks like he genuinely cares. You can see it on social media. He looks like a good lad to have around the squad, and I want it to work for him. And if he keeps playing like he did against Villa, he's definitely got a place in this squad until the end of the season for sure.
Yeah, and Finn, Nathan Collins as well. Some seriously improved performances, I think, since Lopetegui's coming as well. Again, another good game for him. I think against Liverpool, but against Villa as well, he was really decent.
Yeah, what a week of performances for him. I think I've never really been that too critical of his defending. There hasn't been too many. Oh, has there? I'm trying to think. Maybe I've wiped them out. But the Everton game anyway. It was just his distribution that was poor. He was relatively solid defensively. And he seems to have added that. He's got even better. He's rock solid the last two games, but also hasn't made any ricks with the passing. There was a few in that Everton game that were awful. So all round, I didn't know whether we'd have to even go into a 3 to sort of rescue the value of a player that we had there because he was looking so shaky in a 2. But thankfully, touch wood, the last few games, he's looked really, really solid. Yeah,
and on the flip side of that, George, second half, Wolves, I think it happens naturally, especially when you're desperate for points. Started playing a lot deeper. Villa obviously coming on to us a little bit more. We got away with 1 or 2 chances, but the goal came from what I thought it would have been. I don't want to direct the whole blame on Kilman, but obviously he went sort of wandering forward and lost the ball, and that left that gap in the defence, and that's where Tyrone Mings' ball went through to Danny Ings. But Kilman, I don't think against Villa he had a great performance. Me and Matt mentioned it on the review, and a couple of people had sort of pulled us up on it because he cleared that one off the line, but he got caught out at the end for the Leon Bailey chance as well.
I don't think he's the same player in a 2 as a 3, and I don't think he's the same player without Conor Cody there, like Brighton and barking him and telling him where to be positionally. And that's just that's just what I see. I always thought, I'm a big fan of Collins. I've been even when he's been getting stick, and I think that Collins is the better centre half out of the two and have the better career for sure. I just think Kilman needs a bit of guidance around him, someone to sort of drag him into position a little bit, and he looked comfortable in a back five, like say with Cody there, giving him instructions and behind him. He looked a lot more assured because he's good on the ball. I think that goal, we shouldn't be conceding a goal from a 50-yard diagonal ball over the top of the defence. I mean, Sarr slips as well, which doesn't help things, but it's just so simple and all the hard work's done because, even at that point, Villa were starting to get a bit of a foothold in the game, but I don't think they were on top of us at that point when we conceded. And then when we went to 1-1, we were very much just sort of, we'll take the point. And I'm a strong believer of watching that game back and thinking about it. Like, if we were 12th, 11th in the league, like 6-7 points clear of safety, we'd have got out, carried on playing the way we were. And I think we'd have won that game handsomely. And I just think it's the desperation of points at the minute, like, that we sort of sat in, we got a bit nervous, a bit cagey. And you know what, like, I know they lost to Stevenage at the weekend, so it probably devalues that point a little bit more. But that's a Villa team that beat Chelsea, Man United in recent weeks, and Emery's got them going a little bit. So I think it's a good away point, to be honest with you. You'd have took it before the game for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, if someone offered it to you before the game with the form Villa were in, especially with it being a derby, if you think it's a derby or not, I think you probably would have taken the point in that anyway. And our first half was fantastic. The one thing that changed in the second half as well was Adama Traore came on, and again we mentioned this on our review. The guy behind us, oh my word, from 45th minute to the 95th minute, whatever it was, just constant abuse to Adama Traore. I think I've still got a headache now, just moaning at him that he's out of position, not tracking a man. It was obviously an team instruction to give Digne space on the ball because Semedo didn't close him down either. And he was moaning at Adama for not tracking that as well. And even when I think at the end we swapped to the 5, it was a 5-3-2 and Adama was as a striker, moaning at Adama for not getting back quick enough. And I thought, man, I said, I don't know how you watch football matches, like just moaning and moaning and moaning. But I don't think Adama was fantastic. I thought he was a lot better against Liverpool again, which we'll talk about shortly. But the Leon Bailey chance as well, Finn. We've seen him crying. We've seen him putting it on Instagram and Twitter, apologising. But again, that's one. I know I don't want to sort of jump on it too much, but Kilman probably should be defending that a little bit better. I think he's just allowed that ball to go over his head, and obviously it's allowed Leon Bailey to go through on goal.
Yeah, I think from the sort of view that I had where you couldn't see it too well, but even though I could see that it was Bailey on his right foot, and if anyone's played FIFA or watched any Bailey highlights, I knew, right, he's taking this on his right foot, it's not going in. I don't know what it is with Villa, and I think was it Bertrand Traore as well, one of the only players on FIFA to have 1-star weak foot. So they're wingers as long as you get them the right way. I wasn't really fearing anything until once you've taken it round. But no, we should have had warning signs from the goal. There's been a theme of that. I think was it the Brighton game where they basically attempted a move. We were lucky enough to not concede, and then they tried it again and scored. So maybe we do need to wake up in that sort of sense. But yeah, Bailey, it's very embarrassing to cry afterwards, and then to highlight that you were crying afterwards as well.
Oh, it's weird that he put it on apologising as well. Yeah,
very strange. At least he cares, I suppose.
Yeah, but 1-1 draw, like George said earlier, probably would have taken the point. And obviously the Betmate as well. We had 2 winners this week. I think I finished just outside the winning places, but Finn and Jord both won a little bit of money. Finn, you finished top 10, took home £10.35. I think that's probably your biggest ever win, isn't it? Yeah. And George finished 16th as well. He won £5.40, which is, what was it, £3 in? So,
£3 in, profit.
Rome wasn't built in a day, so we take those. Top 3, it was M. Willsey 80, finished top wit and won £114.30. Roy Oakes finished second, won £67.50, and Jack Wolf in third, who won £45. So congrats to those 3, and obviously you 2 as well.
Sorry, Dave. You know what's weird though? When the teams came out, and obviously I was stood with you in the concourse, I changed my team to be very Villa. So I don't know how it got better because they weren't great. So I don't know how I've done that. I think I had 3 Villa players in their shares between the game.
I had Douglas Luiz as captain, I think, and he didn't actually get that many points. So yeah, that let me. I think I had Pedence, which put me in a good position. But yeah, we'll come on to the West Ham game and Betmate pot shortly as well. But of course, on Saturday, late kickoff, FA Cup third round, Wolves are at Anfield. Liverpool seemed to be a team that we play quite often in the FA Cup, lads. But it was 9 changes to the team. Jord, we didn't know how Lopetegui was going to approach this, especially with 2 important games this week as well. Forest in the quarter-final of the Cup and obviously West Ham, which you could class as a 6-pointer. But I think it's almost, I'm not going to say luxury, but sort of the beauty with this current Wolves squad is that there is a little bit of depth there in some senses. And then even if you rotate, it's still a fairly strong team. But 9 changes against, I would say, at the moment, a full-strength Liverpool team. What did you think?
I was glad we went we were semi-strong, but I was glad as we went as strong as we did, because it's obvious that, Klopp with Liverpool season at the moment, it's a competition they must see as winnable. I think he wanted to do it in one game, because I know they've got Real Madrid very soon in Champions League as well. He don't want to replay. And I think when they come to Molineux in a few weeks, they're going to end up playing like the Carabao Cup side that they took to Villa with about 14 and 15-year-old lads.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so. But yeah, I was quite happy with the team. Like I say, it was, I wasn't expecting anything. It was a bit of a free hit, and I hate using that analogy, but it was just, look, Forest's a bigger game, West Ham's a better game, and I think that sort of showed a little bit in our approach, because I think if we go up in the league at Anfield, we'd probably play a little bit more rigid and a bit more reserved. But I do think that that's the best way to go against these top teams, like Liverpool's and Man City's, is you almost need to trade punches with them and play up the pitch a little bit, because I think if you just sit in, they've got that much quality, they'll pick you off and they'll beat you 3-4-0 anyway. So I think if you just play 20 yards further up the pitch and sort of press them in, and that's the way to go about it. And we took the game to them when we could take the game to them, and it was very successful in large parts.
Yeah, I thought, we did, we pressed them well. And I think, like you said earlier, Finn, in regards to Hwang, I know he sort of didn't play in that first half, but I think having those players that pressed quite well, and even Adama, I thought, had almost quite a disciplined performance, for his standards as well. And that rewarded us as well, because Liverpool were making sloppy errors. We didn't have a huge amount of the ball, but obviously we got our first goal from their mistake when we were pressing, and Alisson just plays it straight into the path of Guedes, who has to tap in. But I've spoken to a couple of people about that, and like in the stands, you almost couldn't believe what had happened.
No, yeah, it was weird, because I think Raul had gone down just before, hadn't he? And then you see we weren't given the free kick, which was expected, and maybe foreshadowing the things to come. And then the ball rolled back to Alisson. So it almost, as a fan, you do have your eyes on the game, but you're almost right. Okay, balls with the goalkeeper. I'm out of check with my mum or whatever. And then all of a sudden, people are jumping up. They don't know what's happened. I knew from a YouTube wise that it wasn't Raul that had scored, because he must have been on the floor. So I was like, well, it wasn't him, but I'll still celebrate regardless. And yeah, we quickly got replays. I think Out of Context Football had got it on pretty sharpish. So that was the one that was going around the fans of him just throwing it straight to Guedes. As like a funny moment to share. So everyone was loving it then, but yeah, no one had a clue. It was really, really weird celebrations. I think that the other 2 goals were celebrated much more vigorously. But yeah, it was a gift of a goal. But you've got to be there to score it, and we're very rarely against the top teams in their box from a goal kick. So it's a reward.
Yeah, they were a little bit sloppy. There was the one chance earlier. I think Matip took a little bit too long on the ball, and Guedes was unlucky sort of to trap the ball there about 6 yards out again. But I think it shows, and we talk about these players coming to a different country and almost trying to get this confidence up. About 2 minutes later, Joel Guedes picks the ball up and looks up and has a shot from about 30 yards, which troubled Alisson as well. I think sometimes players need that, don't they? Just a goal to get that morale and confidence up. And Lopetegui hasn't really given him the opportunities as of yet. But performances like that will, give him something more to think about, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is a confidence player. You can see that in his demeanour and his, people keep saying he's a bit moody, doesn't like his arse. I just think he's a bit of a confidence player. And when he scored his goal, he was like Bugs Bunny, wasn't he? Just all around the pitch. And like you say, he wouldn't have took that shot on before Christmas, put it like that, in the Bruno Lage team. And I thought he had his best game in a Wolves shirt. Again, playing in the position where he was for Valencia, where he got his goal contributions. And that's probably where you'll see the best out of him. And I think that him and Cunha together, that could be quite dangerous, like from a forward pressing point of view. And it allows you again to get up the pitch a little bit further. And you've got two quick people that are pressing the ball rather than Moutinho and Costa, who, again, intelligent footballers, but not the most nimble of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was a shame that we obviously weren't able to hold on to the league until half time. I mean, I can't take anything away from the assist from Trent and the finish from Darwin Núñez. I picked out the poor clearance from Nathan Collins. I thought that, again, not taking anything away from the rest of his game, because I thought he was good again against Liverpool. But I think the clearance has got to be a lot better, because Trent is completely on his own on that side of the pitch as well. Maybe that was part of Collins' thinking. I don't know if it's a missed kick, but that's where it goes straight to. When I blamed Collins, and a lot of people agree with me, Matt sort of jumped on me and said, no, that's Dexter Lembakisa who's got to be stopping that. But I think you can point at a number of players. But like I said, it was a top goal from Darwin Núñez. Second half, though, a lot of drama. We saw, obviously, the Salah goal. This one, Finn, again, is such a grey area, because when I saw the replay, I said, that's got to be offside, because obviously Totti, yes, he's headed it, but Salah's in that offside position. So obviously it goes down to, do you think Totti's header is deliberate or not? Probably is, and he's absolutely cocked it up. But at the same time, he doesn't need to make that header if Salah's not stood behind him. So what, again, in the ground, was there any indication that it could be offside? And what's your overall thoughts on that goal?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen several rules since about how in the Premier League rules it says it has to be the goalkeeper to then make them back onside, but then Liverpool fans digging out an FA rule saying that if it's deliberate, as you say, it can then make him active again or whatever. In the ground, because you're so low down and so far away from it, there wasn't too many protests. I mean, not even me, the most cynical of fans. I mean, I've seen that Neto goal ruled out for offside at Anfield. I've seen so many dodgy decisions at Anfield, and to be fair, I wasn't even that bothered. Like, to first viewing, I didn't see anything. But then once you look on social media and the word starts to get around that he was offside, and I think there was a goal, was it the Nations League, where it's something similar, but Laporte, it wasn't a header away. He went to slide tackle it, or it might have been a header. I can't remember. And I remember thinking at the time, that's a ridiculous rule. I think it was Benzema, and possibly playing France at the time. Yeah, that's one of the examples of it before. I think there's been another one since as well. But it is a ridiculous rule. You've seen everyone within football say that shouldn't be a goal. I think I was listening to TalkSport this morning. There's two former footballers saying, yeah, that shouldn't be a goal. Danny Murphy as well, if anyone's going to back Liverpool on Match of the Day. I think it's one of those ones where I think if the later one hadn't happened, people wouldn't be crying too much, because technically you can say, well, it's in the rules, but the rules are stupid. It's one of those. But I think with the build-up of things, and like Andy Robertson putting like studs through Adama's eyes, I think then people start to build up the narrative. So that one on its own, I could have maybe stomached it. That's all right for Anfield for us. We normally get dodgy ones and that. But yeah, it's just a real grey area, and we were unlucky on that one at least.
It wouldn't surprise me to see that rule changed or reworded, in the near future, as always. But yeah, there were a lot of people.
And we benefit from it. That'll be when it changes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but even Robbie Fowler said that one shouldn't have counted, and the one that we scored, or that wasn't given, should have counted. But there's been a lot of debate, and like you said, I watched Match of the Day after the game, and I think it was. Obviously, Danny Murphy was really surprised to hear from, and Stephen Warnock as well. But Danny Murphy in particular, really surprised to see him back in almost, the Wolves side. But frustrating to concede that goal. But Jord, the big one, obviously not quite that big one yet, because we'll talk about the equaliser first. But two subs combining for this one, combining really well. Obviously, Mateus coming off the bench, and Hwang. And I know we're all desperate for subs, for new signings and so on at the moment. But I think in the attacking areas, Wolves have got some. I know the goals aren't quite free-flowing as of yet, but we've got some serious depth there in those wide areas. And if you include Aït-Nouri in there now, who I thought, again, had a top performance, even as a more attacking player. But good to see players come on and make a difference. And Cunha and Hwang, I thought, looked quite bright in parts of the second half, and obviously got that goal. Yeah,
it's all about confidence. And I don't think we've ever sort of doubted the ability that some of these players have got for Wolves, but it's almost like, with Nuno and under Bruno, we played very pragmatic, so they almost play with the shackles on. And it seems like Lopetegui's just given them a little bit of license just to go out there and express themselves. And I think I read something of Lopetegui when he was at Sevilla, and I could be completely wrong, but like he doesn't see subs as subs. He sees them as almost like finishers, like what in rugby, what they do. Like you bring people on for the last 20, 25 minutes just to come on and just cause carnage and havoc and chaos and just, just go on there and just, there's no structure. Just go on, play your game, fluid, and just run at a tight defence. And you can see that a little bit with the change with Troy Alray when he's been coming off the bench and all that sort of stuff. Like you can sort of see, like he sees them as finishers rather than moving parts. Like Plan A, we'll swap the personnel in Plan A. Like I say, it was a great link up by Hwang and Cunha. Good ball back by Cunha, and Hwang's got a little bit unfortunate. He's had a lot of stick from Wolves fans, myself included, in the past, but I'm just glad to see him playing with a bit of a smile on his face, and he deserved that bit of luck as well. And I think he's a different player coming back into this Wolves team from the World Cup. And so far, I've liked everything I've seen from him from the start, and coming off the bench as well.
Yeah, I agree. I gave him a lot of stick. People know that as well. But I think he's almost this sort of, fingers crossed he can continue to improve and continue to get on the goal sheet. But we've seen it, it's taken him just over 12 months. He's learned the language quite fluently now as well. He's got someone in Cunha who speaks, German, where Hwang spent a little bit of time as well. So he's going to get those, friendships, relationships. And, we saw that on the pitch as well. And I like that, the fact that, I think that's what you want subs to do sometimes. They've come on against sometimes defenders that have already played 60, 70 minutes. You want them to come on and just run riot. And I think sometimes on the flip side of that, sometimes that's an issue for Adama, because I always think it takes Adama maybe like 20, 25 minutes to sort of actually get into a game. So when he comes off the bench, he's not as effective as I think some fans will want him to be. But, even the 70th, 80th minute against Liverpool, he caused some real problems as they were pushing on to try and get a winner. But we will come on to that controversial moment now where I think it was Cunha, didn't he have a shot saved or blocked, and it goes out for a corner. Whipped in by Nunes, headed back out a couple of times, back to Nunes, who whips it in, deflects into the path of Totti Gomez, who scores a nice little back heel, shirt off, abs out. And then somehow, Finn, the flag ends up, the lino puts his flag up. Now, I was saying to you before the game, and people who listened to the review will know I was sat at home questioning why on earth the flag would be up. Surely Totti wasn't offside. He wasn't. They didn't have any angles of the Nunes, where Nunes was stood. So if I was confused at home with all those replays, Finn, I'm sure you and Jordan at Anfield were equally as confused with what was going on.
Yeah, I'll talk you through it, but just stop me when I've been going on for too long or whatever. Like, if you start getting bored, or if I start getting too heated, because I knew, even on the day I tried to calm myself down after the game, but I knew I'm going to have to talk about this again. So, I may as well save all my energy for this. So, in the ground, we've all gone mental, and then a few people see the flags going up. A few people, it took a good 20 seconds for them to realise the flag had gone up, and I think someone's just put out footage tonight on Twitter that I think the ref was about 3 or 4 seconds after the goal he actually decided to put his flag up. So we had those few precious seconds of thinking that we'd scored the goal. And then, people start to realise, a lot of people were adamant, because the original thought is, right, it's Gomez. People think it's Totti Gomez that's offside. And I just knew he wasn't. No, he wasn't. There was a guy that had filmed it behind me. I'd filmed it myself, but didn't think at the time. The guy behind was then, we were all watching his screen like it was a flipping cinema. We're all lined up. And we watch it, we go, right, no offside there, no offside there. Every touch, Totti's onside. So we're like, okay, sound, this is going to be given. You wait 2 minutes and bang, offside. So we've got literal video evidence in front of us. Totti's never offside there. So then you go to Twitter and people are going, where's the offside? I can't see. There was literally a point, it's in my video that I've put out. I went on Twitter and it was Lee Westwood, the golfer, Chris Hughes from Love Island, and Ravel Morrison all going, what on earth has just happened there? And I thought, right, if it's getting golf, Love Island, and League One footballers involved, it's got to be a real big decision to sort of cross all these genres.
Night with or something like that,
Literally, so I thought, right, yeah. So there was suspicion straight away, and then it started coming out that it was Nunes, but then I couldn't think there's no way he was offside because he was much deeper. So everyone's just, no one really knew. And then it's more or less when you get outside the ground that it's coming through that they didn't have an angle to prove that Nunes was offside, but we all knew ourselves that he wasn't offside. And then you just think we've been robbed. And then you get out the ground and see people filming, hey, the refs told the linesman to put his flag up. So you're in this sort of sequence of events where the VAR can't prove the linesman wrong, who didn't even flag in the first place because he didn't see. So it looks like the referee, who especially can't see, has ordered the flag. I mean, there's probably dialogue there saying, "Oh, I'm not sure, just put your flag." Like it looks more corrupt than it probably was. But when you add all those things up, it's just, you can't even say, "Oh, yeah, unlucky there." It's just, oof. Yeah. Sorry, George, you go. I'll stop myself.
Yeah, I think for me, my initial reaction, I saw the flag, and I just thought it's got to be Núñez because of just how quickly it all happened. The ball seemed to come back out to Núñez quite quickly from the corner flag, and I just thought, well, he's got to be offside, because I think I saw on Twitter, like, people are actually saying the offside rule's stupid for the corner taker, because how can he ever be onside when he could, if you take a corner off the pitch, so how can he actually ever physically be onside anyway? So I just thought that happened, and then I'd messaged on Twitter, I think, in our Twitter group or WhatsApp group, saying, like, because I knew Dave and Matt were at home, just like, what's gone on? And there's a few, like, I didn't look at my phone again then. And I got out of the ground and I had like 64 WhatsApps, Twitter messages, images, videos, like, what the fuck's going on? It's corrupt, it's this, it's that. And maybe I'm naive. I'd like to think that it isn't corrupt. Like, I just think that with VAR, the principle of VAR is good, but it's almost like unconscious bias. It always seems to go in the way of like these bigger teams to get those decisions. And I think it's unfortunate that the angle's not there, in terms of the angle's not there to disprove that Núñez was onside. However, if that goal goes in at the Kop, they ain't putting the flag up.
Yeah.
There's no way the flag's going up. It's just, right, if he's offside, VAR will give it offside, but it's just a fact of he's put the flag up. The linesman can't see it through all that bodies of players to be 100% definitively sure. If you put the flag up as soon as the ball went back out to Núñez, no one would probably argue the toss. You go, well, he's literally just took the corner. But it's the fact that the phase of play's got on, the goal's gone in, the linesman's running up to like sort of the halfway line for the kickoff. Then he's put his flag up. Then it looks like the ref's sort of pointing and gesturing to him to put the flag up. It's just all this. Yeah, like I say, maybe I'm naive. Maybe I just think, football's not like that. But it's sick, isn't it? It really does stink. And again, the third round of the FA Cup, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really, I'm bothered. I'm pissed off. But if that was us, meaning us staying in the Premier League or not, or winning an FA Cup final or not, I'd be absolutely livid. Like, absolutely livid. So we still don't have any. No one's come out from like the PGMOL, isn't it? The referee union, to say why. I think that referees, and I know that people have been saying it on, I think Carragher and Neville have been advocates for it for a long time, but I think that's just because they want the drama on Sky Sports. Is why don't the refs come out after games and just speak? Why don't they just say, this is why we gave it? In rugby league and in rugby, they're wired up to the stadium speakers. Like, everyone in the ground knows what's going on. They're talking through the decision. It's on the big screen. Everyone knows where they stand. NFL's the same as well. They'll have booth reviews. They'll talk about it. Cricket, Snicko, all that sort of, like, literally the technology is played in front of you, and you can talk through the decision, and you can hear it at home or in the stadium. Why in the 21st century in a football ground can you not have like Andy May? Was it Andy Madley, the ref? I think.
Mate, they can't even
anyway,
cover the pitch but they can't even see the whole pitch on cameras, let alone like all of it.
But then the other thing is, was it BN Sports have got the World Cup?
Yeah, BN Sports have got it. Yeah.
And and it's coming into the grounds next year. Why isn't that? If that technology is good enough for the World Cup, why isn't it good enough now for like English top flight football grounds? It should just be in. There's no reason why it's not in. It's annoying, and it keeps coming back with VAR. I think the principle of VAR works when it's black and white with offsides. Normally, you're offside. It's definitive, especially with this the AI stuff that's coming in. The World Cup, there was no problems with VAR. No one spoke about VAR. On the whole, the World Cup was officiated extremely well.
There wasn't any issues with it last World Cup either, or last Euros, whatever it was when it first came in. But why is it always a false?
You don't get any stinkers. Champions League, you never get any stinkers, and then people are saying, "Oh, we haven't got any Premier League referees in the quarterfinals of like the World Cup or the Champions League." You know why? Because they're all fucking awful, terrible. Like, it's really bad. Like, honestly, like some of them have been like riding on the laurels for so long, and it just like, again, I hope me being naive, I don't think it is as corrupt as what people saying, but I do think the big teams do get this unconscious bias, whether you like it or not, where they just seem to get the decisions or they get the benefit of the doubt like too many times. And as soon as it's not clear and obvious, that you're going to stick with the on-field decision. And that's, again, another grey area with, I can think of the Silva one this season. Like, if that was the other way around, it'd have been a red card and a penalty. Because the ref would have given that, and then they'd have gone to VAR and gone, oh, it's not clear and obvious to change it. And it's another thing that you're on the wrong side of. So that's for me that's what stinks to me the most.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Like I said, it was a shame that ITV had sort of brushed over it so quickly. They didn't really make a big deal out of it. And in the studio after, I think it was Mark Pugac, who's the host, with Eni Aluko and Heskey, and Wolves got very little praise for their performance. And again, they spoke about it, but just said, well, there weren't the camera angles available or whatever. But for a team as big as Liverpool, at a ground as big and famous and, well structured as Anfield, that's just crazy, isn't it? So it is frustrating. I think, there's a number of people you could pinpoint the blame on. Like you said, I think, Finn, the lino might be in the ear saying, I'm not sure if he's offside. And the refs probably said, well, put your flag up on VAR, we'll clear it up, which obviously is completely backfired on probably the three people, who's the lino, the ref, and obviously Mike Dean as well, who's got the brunt of what's gone on. But very, very frustrating to be on the wrong end of that. And like you said, I think the Salah goal, the same, if Matip headed it back for Jimenez to tap it in, I'm sure they would have taken a much longer look at that. And if happens...
They never even looked at that one, did they? And yet even the Juan goal was up VAR checking. They check everything with a fine-tooth comb.
They did check the Salah goal for a little bit, but it didn't take them long.
Sorry, it never came up in the...
it didn't take them long to give it. And the Juan goal was tight, but it was onside. But yeah, it was really, really frustrating when we've worked so hard. For a player like Totti as well, who hasn't been given a huge amount of opportunities, not just under Lopetegui, but, under Large as well since coming back to the team, for him to score... Great moment, and there were just little. Even after that, I think Cunha had half a shout for a penalty as well, didn't he?
I think it's a penalty all day. I don't know. It's not. I don't know how they haven't checked that, because again, they're meant to check anything that happens inside the box. That's happened inside the box, and you're telling me that ain't a foul. He ain't even played the ball.
That is, you know what? That's almost the exact. Was it England? When Kane missed the penalty, it's very similar.
Mason Mount when Hernandez just went through him, wouldn't look at the ball. It's and everyone was like, everyone was shouting for it. Then actually, when you see the replay with that Mount one, Hernandez never even looks the ball once. He just takes Mount out, and that's exactly the same. He's not played the ball. He's not played the ball.
It really, even though it wasn't given, what angers me on those ones, and indulge me, it might be just stupid and thinking way too much, but I always find that when it's like a young, like a Man United player playing one of his first few games, or a Liverpool playing one of his first few games, I don't think a Wolves youngster would dare make that challenge because they'd think, that's a risk of a penalty.
Apart from
they come through knowing we'll be sound here, but he just goes straight through. So I don't see Lembakisa even risking that. But the Liverpool player, well, of course, I ain't going to be giving it, and it's probably overthinking it. But things like that, and I also wound me up again today on what you're saying about Totti, Dave. There was a Liverpool fan giving the audacity of saying, "Why didn't they book Totti?" Like, mate, you.
I know. Like, a lot. To be fair, Jesus. You know what? A lot of and no disrespect to Liverpool fans, I thought after this game, it's going to be full of Liverpool fans telling us to shut up. He's offside, get on with it. And there were very, very few people, football fans in general, saying, a lot of football fans saying, I don't understand how they're giving offside. There were very few. And the few that sort of argued it, you could tell, don't understand the rules. Because I've seen at least 3 or 4 people say, well, the first header, which was from Nathan Collins, was aimed at Núñez, who was offside. I was like, that's got nothing to do with it because he's not the last touch. And there was a few comments like that, but on the whole, even Liverpool fans have been pretty sort of almost forgiving. But you bet your bottom dollar if that happened to them, petition or as soon as the final whistle goes, all sorts. So but we've mentioned there, the Totti one was interesting that he didn't get a booking for that because I think the refs probably are still meant to do it regardless of whether it's given a goal or not.
They probably should have. It was just the fact they were still having something to moan about. I was like, mate, you just got away with it quite because when you're saying people are saying I don't understand how it's offside, it's because it was not offside. That's so you can't even blag it, can you, as a Liverpool fan? And as you say, like Robbie Fowler, Danny Murphy, they have to say, we've got away with one there. There's no other option.
Yeah, and very quick, we've mentioned them a couple of times, but Jord, in and amongst those 9 changes, one was Joe Hodge, one was Dexter Lembekisa, who was probably a surprise start out of those. But I suppose I'll give a shout out to Johnny as well. I thought that was one of his best performances for a long time.
Yeah.
Obviously playing on that left-hand side where, he sort of made his name as a Wolves player as such. But Hodge as well, I don't know what it is with Joe Hodge. And maybe it's because he hasn't really been given... I don't know, maybe not played to his strengths as of yet, but I thought against Liverpool, Jord, he was fantastic. And it probably goes back to what you said earlier, sort of playing a little bit higher, a bit more pressing. Thought him and Neves did a great job for large parts of that game.
Yeah, and I think it's what sort of alludes to what I said last week about Hodge, is that he's never going to let you down. He's going to be neat, tidy. He's never going to, I don't think he's ever going to be spraying the ball 60, 70 yards. And he's not, from an ability-wise, he's not going to be doing the same that Matheus Nunes does for you. But he'll do a job, and you need people like that in and around the squad. And you know what? I thought he was fantastic. That whatever you're saying about Liverpool at the moment in terms of form, they're still a world-class team. They still won 4 trophies last year. And, I thought he dealt with Thiago extremely well. I thought that both, like I say, both of them, 2 versus 3 against that midfield 3. They can pass anyone off the field. Like you've seen world-class midfielders go to Anfield and shrink and get swallowed up by it all. And hats off to him. Fantastic performance. It was you can't knock any of them. Johnny as well. Again, last week we were all saying he was finished. He had a very solid game against Salah, but he needed that. He did need that performance, and it was nice. He got the captain's armband as well, didn't he, in the second half?
Yeah, towards the end, yeah.
So I think Lopetegui gave him his debut for Spain, didn't he, in the Nations League when we beat them as well.
Yeah.
So I think, he's someone that Lopetegui's, knows Johnny as a player and he likes him and rates him. And I say, for me, again, rightly so, he's been criticised this year despite the bad injuries. But I would love nothing more than Johnny to get back to his old form because, like I say, he's one of my favourite players in this Fosun era.
Yeah. And, Lembekisa, like I said, he's earned himself a new contract. And, if somebody had told me that Cody Gakpo didn't get in the Liverpool squad for Saturday, I probably would have believed him because he had very little opportunities, and I thought Lembekisa did a pretty good job on him as well. And if we can, like I said earlier, Aït-Nouri played a bit further forward, really sort of starting to shine a little bit. If you class now Aït-Nouri maybe as a forward, and you've got Johnny and Hugo Bueno as your 2 left backs, and maybe Lembekisa and Semedo as your right backs, I think that right back position's still got a couple of question marks over it. But slowly but surely, the Steve Davis effect of bringing in some of these younger players has had a massive impact on our squad depth in a good way. So, I mean, fair play to him for that. And obviously, we always want to see some new transfers. But if you could take advantage of your own youth system by giving these players a chance, then, fantastic.
He did play Nunes in the number 10 for like 5 games, though. So
you got Steve Davis. Oh, yeah. Very true.
No, it wasn't. It was Scott Sellers. We saw the clipboard. It was Scott Sellers. He's not interested. It's not Steve Davis.
Yeah, but I mean, Nunes came on again, and we did mention him against Villa. I thought he had a good game against Villa, but against Liverpool, I mean,
that was a come and
Liverpool
get me.
Fans weren't excited before; they probably were, after that little cameo, weren't they? So, let's just enjoy him whilst if Lopetegui can continue to get the best out of him, and if we what do you think, lads? I mean, actually, there's a question at the end. I think I'll leave it till the end. The question I was about to ask anyway, but Wolves are into the hat for the 4th round anyway, lads. Brighton. Tough draw, isn't it? Away as well.
It's probably one of the worst draws you can get right now with the form they're in. De Zerbi's cracking manager. I've been watching, his profile from afar, and he's come to the Premier League, took to it like a duck with water, like duck takes to water, and that's how you employ a new manager. It's what I said when we were looking for the large replacement. It's Brighton. They're already looking. They've already got 3 lined up for the next one to go, and they'll have 3 lined up for when De Zerbi moves on. And that's the way they've got it. They've got such a fantastic, footballing model there, and a lot of good, good players and players that get on the cheap, and they get them from very much XG models and Moneyball models. And I'm just fascinated by how they run as a football team, and they're a good Premier League team at the moment. It's going to be a tough game if we do get past Liverpool, which I do generally think we will, because I think Liverpool will play the babies, like I said earlier on. But it's not a nice place to go. And they beat Middlesbrough 5-1, did they? I think they played a full team as well.
Middlesbrough team as well.
Yeah, they're a problem at the minute. They're a good team, and you got to treat them like one. It's going to be as tough as you're going to get in that 4th round, I think.
Yeah, I mean the replay I think it's next week, so that'll soon come around. The 3 midweek games in a row for Wolves. Finn, you can bet your bottom dollar that BBC or ITV will probably put this one as like a Friday night 8 p.m. kickoff as well.
Yeah, it's not nice all round really. Tough opponent, very hard to get to. Could be a nice weekend away, really, maybe. But when do we play them? We play them more towards when it might be a little bit hotter, don't we? Is it more like April time?
In the league. I thought you meant in the cup then. Yeah, in the league.
Sorry, to pinpoint a beach day in Brighton, I might do the second one rather than that one. But I mean, the games in general. But if we'd have been knocked out by Liverpool fair and square, I mean, I don't know how all those decisions have got me caring about the FA Cup third round when we're in a relegation battle. I thought, right, we can lose this. We don't really need the extra games, especially with the Carabao. And now it's turned into like, I think I've watched the highlights of that game more than I've watched any of the Premier League games. So it's strange. I don't mind if we do go out. Really, it was just the injustice. So if we go out there, it's not either the replay or the Brighton game. It's not too embarrassing. I don't know whether I'll be making that trek. I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see. To be fair, with the highlights, Wolves have really rinsed it on the socials this weekend. To be fair, they've put a lot of the highlights up as well, and a sarcastic TikTok as well of the disallowed goal, which is always nice as well. The last time I did Brighton away was the Mel Eves away day, by the way, as well. So might just have to be worth going again just for that. But another cup game for Wolves this Wednesday. They take on Nottingham Forest away from home. Now Forest rotated a fair bit in their FA Cup, and they got smashed. Who's it by Blackpool?
Blackpool.
And I say it was a rotated team, but there was still some decent players. Emmanuel Dennis played in that game. So had the likes of Hennessy starting in goal. Jord, this is a huge game for Wolves, isn't it? Because to get into the last four of a domestic trophy would be a huge honour for the club, but get a real buzz around Molineux again at the right time.
Yeah, and I just feel I don't think I've been as confident for a football game as I have all season than this one right now. When they come to Molineux, I was petrified they're going to turn us over, but I just can't see us doing anything other than going there and steamrolling them. And I genuinely mean that. Like I think Lopetegui, the way we are at the moment, there's a good vibe around the club. Yes, we're 19th in the Premier League, but with 3 points off 13th, there's a corner's been changed. We turn that corner. And I don't think this Forest team are very good. And I think if we play like we did against Liverpool, that performance with like what you'd class as first teamers coming into that team as well. Yeah, I just think we'll have too much for them. I just think we'll be too good for them. And this could, sound clip and bite me on the arse, but I think we'll go there and win 3-4-0. I generally do.
I hope George's right there, Finn. Obviously, he rotated for the weekend, but do you think that means Wolves go full strength today? Obviously, you got to sort of look towards Saturday as well, with a tough game, but Wolves got a couple of little knocks. I think Aït-Nouri came off with a slight knock, and obviously Podence we're unsure on, but full strength, do you think, for Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy me saying that I suppose I have to run around 3 times in 7 days or whatever if I was one of the players, but I think I would, yeah. I couldn't. I think my Wi-Fi was slightly going. I don't know whether the FA are trying to get me shut down because I said the word corruption. So I couldn't fully tell what George was saying. But basically, I hate Forest. I think that's what he was saying ever since the game at home. Yeah, it would be very nice to get the win. I think, was it in the Carabao Cup last year we went there and did 3 or 4? Obviously, obviously they were in the league below. But yeah, I'm still pretty confident. I don't fully rate them. I think they'll be one of the 3 that goes down this season. So pretty confident. And I would like to see us give the best account of ourselves. But is that I suppose it goes more existential in the, do you want a Carabao Cup or staying up? Like, do you want to win a cup or stay up and all that stuff? And we'll probably face Man City in the final if we get there and lose anyway. But I think go for it. West Ham is a really, really big game. But I think with what I've seen so far, even if that game goes wrong, I'm still confident we'll stay up. So I think, go full strength for this one.
Yeah, and obviously Gibbs White probably again against Wolves. Willy Bolly didn't play in the league game, but started to break into the team a little bit more. So be interesting, but it would be nice to get a win. I think it's a winnable game. Forest's league form is a little bit better, but fingers crossed we can still get there. West Ham as well, then lads, on Saturday in the league. It's a 3 p.m. Saturday kickoff. We don't get many of them at the minute, but it's a big game for Wolves, with West Ham struggling as well. David Moyes, you could say, on the brink as well. So they're fragile at the minute. What do you think, George? Is this a must-win or just a must-not-lose for Wolves?
I think it's a must-not-lose. There's so many games still left in the season. I think that West Ham are probably similarly to ourselves, a little bit in a false position. They can't put the ball in the back of the net like we can't. That game at the whatever you call it, the Olympic Stadium, whatever you want to call it, that fucking big stadium, racetrack, whatever. Toilet bowl, yeah. That was one of the most comprehensive defeats of the season. I thought we were that bad that day. I was down in London for the NFL weekend. I was stopping in Fulham, and I didn't even want to get a ticket. I could have literally gone from Fulham to West Ham, and I didn't want to go.
When we were in Belgium, remember me and Matt? It's because it was Large's last game, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to do that bloody TalkSport thing.
TalkSport
stuff about half 11 at night. Yeah, great. But yeah, I just think it's must not lose. I think they're a good team. They've got some good players, and they'll turn a corner at some point as well. And I think it's a must not lose. Obviously, I think we can go and beat them. I think we'll probably be favourites with the bookies to go and beat them because we're at home. But it's not a rollover game at all. There's three worse teams than West Ham in the league, and they'll end up coming middle of the pile, same as where I think we naturally will. Sort of that 12th, 13th, 14th place, I think.
Yeah, they've got some good individuals like we have as well. Declan Rice, Jared Bones, Kamaka as well. Some people like the look of Finn. Atmosphere, we're hoping it's going to be a big part on Saturday, Finn. I think a win against Forest will even enhance that. It's still not quite where we want it to be, or we've seen it in recent years. But atmosphere on Saturday could be vital for this game, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think everyone's sort of believing more now, and I think this will be the start of picking up a few points in the next few games because we've got I think after these like Liverpool, Man City games, there's some few tough teams, but then we have a real nice run. So I think it will build up. People are starting to believe in. I mean, West Ham at home, every time there's been fans in the stadium anyway, has been a bit of a formality. It's been one of our easiest games normally every season. I think in lockdown they absolutely battered us, but I suppose when we're in there making noise, we've done okay. So besides law that we don't do it this time now when we actually really need the points. But I agree with Jord. Probably must not lose. You can't be giving them 6 points if they're a potential relegation rival. So I think we'll be on it. We've got a few like Lopetegui themed and new player chants coming through, which will always help to get people going. The Cunha one, I mean, I like it. It is a syllable short.
It just doesn't work, does it? Yeah.
No, I mean, even like Adama fits better. Like we've got players there with 3 syllables, lads. But I mean, I'll go with it for now.
It was actually a Talking Horns listener that started that chant at Villa. Adsid away. I'm sure he'll be listening, but he was doing it, and then his dad was pointing at him when everyone started joining. So, I love the chant. I always wanted that.
Too. The Arsenal one's brilliant.
Chant, because it's like Acuna. It's like. I'm sure he played at left back for Argentina in the World Cup. Acuna, I think.
Cunha. Yeah, let's get him. Cunha. Yeah, that would work a lot there. Yeah. But of course, we have got the Betmate pot as well. It's an interesting one this week. So it is a free to join pot. So if you guys have listened to the podcast and always wondered what Betmate is, it's probably the best time to get involved. I think it's possibly one of the first free to play games that we've had this season. We're going up against a West Ham channel called Hammers Chat. So of course, we want a Wolves fan to win that one. So to join, it is the code TW-HC. So if you download the app using the link in the description, you click join a game and type that in TW. You've got to put in the hyphen and then obviously HC. It's free to join and you can win up to £100 worth of free bets to use on the app as well. Let's look at the teams then. Jord, we'll kick off with you. It's Wolves and West Ham players available. Who have you gone with?
So I've got a bit daring this week, captaining a defender, but I think it's because he'll play further up the pitch and I hope he does get a start. If he doesn't, I'll be able to swap it 5 minutes before kickoff. So there you go. So I've gone with Jose Sarr in goal, Aitnery as my skipper, Bueno as well as the other defender. I've gone with Neves and Nunes because that just seems to be what I always do with Wolves. And then I've gone Jared Bowen and Hwang Yi-chan. A little bit in terms of with my success on Betmate recently, it's actually picking strikers from the team that you're backing against winning, but actually picking a winger to get a lot of blocks and interceptions, and that's sort of where the points come in. So definitely would be my advice is pick a winger of a team you don't fancy as your default player for the other team.
Finn, go on. It looks like you've gone pretty wall strong as well, haven't you?
Yeah, you can tell that, like I'm saying, with good feelings around Wolves. My last team was full of Villa, and now, yeah, very, very Wolves. I might change that based on Jord's advice, but my West Ham player of choice is Paqueta, just because I saw that he's on pens now and does get stuck in a little bit, despite being a very flair player and a little bit further forward. So that was sort of taking my mind there, but I might change to Jord's tactic because he is absolutely smashing it. So I might change my Semedo to 8 Nori as well, but for now I've got Sarr, Bueno, and Semedo. Vice captain Nunes, and then Paqueta, and then I've got Hwang and captain Cunha, which also may change if he doesn't start as well. But that is the beauty that we've got a long time to change the team. But I think I might have a major reshuffle, but that's it for now. And I'll kick myself if that gets money or whatever. So at least I've got video evidence of me being a genius if it does.
Yeah, I've gone with, again, Wolves strong as well. It's amazing what a couple of weeks does, lads, to our thinking and team. I've gone with Sarr in goal. I've gone with Semedo, and I've gone with 8 Nori. Similar figure to you, Jord, that, if he plays further forward, you got the chance there. Podence and Neves as my two midfielders. Podence, if he's fit, I've gone with him as vice and Neves as captain. I think, like I said, Podence, just something about him at the minute. Under Lopetegui, he's got that little bit of a spark, hasn't he? So we've gone with him. And then Cunha as my attacker, but I like the Hwang shout as well. And I have gone with Scamacca as the striker. But I think Jared Bowen's probably the man that's going to get a bit more stuck in. So, yeah, like George said, up till 2:55 p.m. to change your teams. The code is TW-HC. If you're signing up for the first time, if you use the link in our description and use the code TW10, you'll receive a £10 in free bets once you play your first paid pot. And obviously, it's UK residents only. 18 plus, and please do gamble aware, lads. We'll finish off today with the questions. Thank you for those who sent their questions on Twitter. We're running fairly tight on time, but we'll see how we do. Bib, who is obviously a contributor towards Talking Wolves. George, you've already answered this question as part of your thing, but who do you see as the better centre-back, Max Kilman or Nathan Collins?
Nathan Collins all day. I think there's a bit of recency bias in that, but secondly as well, like he came with a bit of a profile when we signed from Burnley. I was an admirer from him from probably January last year, watching him. Even though Burnley went down, I thought he was brilliant when he came in. Man United were tracking him. I think he will go on, and I hope he stays at Wolves for a long, long time. I know there's still people who have got a few doubts in him, but for me, he's 21, he's a centre half. They don't normally hit the prime till like the 30. Like, he's going to make mistakes unless you're an absolute Rolls Royce. Like, you don't tend to peak for another 9 years or so. And that Liverpool performance, I think he made like 21 interceptions or clearances, and he had a fantastic game. And I just think he's, for me, he's the better player. And I think, from an international point of view and standpoint as well, I know Ireland are absolutely gash, but he'll probably go on and make, get over 100 appearances for Ireland as well, 100 caps as well. That's how good I think he is, or could be.
Yeah. Finn, what about you?
See, I'd agree. I'd say Collins now, but I think, Dave, this might be this year's Trincao. Do you remember last year, the Trincao debate, where 1 week we'd say sign him, the week after we'd say don't sign him? I think the Kilman Collins, I think we should ask this every week and see how much I flip-flop, because I think it's been Kilman at some points this season. I'm now back to Collins. So I think, I've gone either way a lot this season, just like the Trincao, to sign, not to sign. But at the moment, Collins has got the shirt, I think.
One of the questions I was going to ask earlier, this is from Juicy Fruity on Twitter. Do you feel, Jord, that we should stick to the 4-4-2 that we saw against Liverpool on Saturday?
Yes. I think it's quite undervalued in terms of, talk about 4-4-2 in an English or British football team. It's almost, people think it's just pump the ball forward, get it to the wingers, and put the ball in the back of the net. And it's different to that. I think it allows you to play, like I said, a little bit further up the pitch. I think Atletico Madrid have been fantastic at it for many years under Simeone. You sort of can play quite compact. You can sort of pack in and tuck in if you need to. And I think actually 2 strikers now is a bit of a, and it's still not 2 proper strikers. The sort of like there's like a 10 and a 9 in there, but almost pressing against 2 centre halves. It's almost you're being a bit different now. Like, defenders at the back at the moment playing against 1 centre forward tend to just be able to play out quite easily, but just something different. And I think it allows you to play a bit further up the pitch. It seemed to have a bit more balance as well. And I feel like by doing that, you've got someone closer to your number 9, and it probably means that you can't play Moutinho as that 10 that high, because you don't think you get back into compact the midfield. So you sort of do lose the Moutinho thing, but I think we've seen now that Neves and Nunes as a midfield two probably, I'm hoping will be the future for Wolves coming forward for this season.
I hope so as well. And like you said, with the two there, I think even against Liverpool, we saw one having some more options up there. But two, I think like when Jimenez was pressing, they turn around and try and pass it back and almost Guedes is there or vice versa. You know, you're adding an extra forward player to press alongside your two wide players as well. And I think the flexibility, if you went with Aït-Nouri in that more advanced position, if you had to switch to a back five without any subs or whatever, I think if it is someone like Johnny at left back, you were allowed to do that because I think he can slot into that sort of centre half role almost. Even Adama can be a makeshift, a wing back. I wouldn't trust Semedo or Johnny to slot into a centre back quite easily, but I think it gives you, that flexibility a little bit more. Finn, what do you think about it? Obviously, you were at the ground, you would have seen it a lot more. Do you feel like Wolves possessed a little bit more going forward?
100%. Yeah, I was going to bring this up earlier, but I had a feeling we'd get questions about it. I think possibly being a bit reactionary. I don't know whether it worked well on Liverpool because obviously you sort of nullified Trent and Robertson because, Robertson's scared of Adama every year anyway, but you had Aït-Nouri also for Trent to worry about. So maybe it's a big team tactic that we go with. But I think that formation gets the best of every player. As we've said, Guedes is now in his position where he tore it up last year. You've got Aït-Nouri feeling a little bit more free. I think I said in our chat, didn't we? I want him left wing back minimum, left wing maximum for this game, and then it turned out to be because you wanted to target Trent. You have got Adama with two people to aim for now, not just one if he does manage to get a cross in. And you've got those profiles. You've got Raul, Costa, Cunha that can play the 9. You've got Hwang, Guedes, Podence that can play that striker / like the shadow striker sort of thing. So it gets the best out of everyone for me, really. You could debate whether the defence is more comfortable in a 5, but by and large, I'm really, really happy with it.
Yeah, definitely. Someone, this was messaged to me privately from Andy Phillips. He's disappointed. He said, "How the hell are Wolves losing out to Southampton in their supposed pursuit of young talents like Alcaraz? Feels like a repeat of Fernandez. So frustrating." Now, this one's an interesting one because Alcaraz obviously was rumoured to be possibly going to Benfica as well when they were going to be losing Enzo Fernandez. But there was a really interesting comment. I think it was made by Pedro Sepulveda, I think, in regards to his attitude issues. Now, we've seen, especially more over the last 12, 18 months, in regards to how Wolves are trying to get certain players of certain profiles, and not just as a footballer, behind the scenes as well. And that's most probably, if Wolves' pursuit was real, that is something I think they would have strongly considered. So I think it's not just about what they're about on the pitch as well, because I think for the fee that is set to go to Southampton for, is affordable for Wolves. But obviously right now, Lopetegui, we don't know, might have had a conversation with him behind the scenes. So I think that's the one. Any of you boys worried at the moment about lack of signings? I know, I've sort of bigged up Jord, our sort of depth over the last sort of 10, 20 minutes or so. But I suppose we still want a few faces, more faces through the door. And a lot of people still pulling Matt Hobbs up on his comments of that he will try and get one or two more through the door.
Yeah. It's just like what that question was there about supposed pursuit of him as well. Like no one ever said we were after him. So, it may not have been true. Yes, we want more new players in. 100%. I feel like actually sort of going to that 4-4-2, it probably means you probably don't actually need another midfielder as much as you do if you're playing a 3, because you've got cover there. You've got Hodge, Moutinho and Boubacar Traoré when fit to almost play. You've got 5 going into 2 there. Yes, we do need more profile of player. Yes, we are still in a bit of a sticky situation, but I think with Lopetegui, you can tell he's after the right players. Like, I've got so much confidence in Cunha's going to come good because he was like literally got him before the window, 52 million quid. That's it's a lot of money for any club, let alone Wolves. But I think the club will back him. If Lopetegui goes, "That's my man, I want him," I think the club will go and get him. I don't think money's going to be out of the equation. I think Foden are shit scared of going down, like they probably should be, because their investment will literally plummet. So they're going to have to double down. But I just think if you get in 2 or 3 at 30, 40 million quid players, and again, I'm not sure we'll spend that again on anyone, but I'd rather get quality over quantity. And, you're looking at Southampton, I think with some of these players, they've got Kletekar, who's been linked to the Premier League for 3 years, Orisic been linked to the Premier League for 3-4 years. It's like they're just in a position where they just need people because I think they're really struggling. And like, really, do you think Orisic or fucking Coletta Cards and Nathan Jones signing? Like, no. Like, they're going to come into the club and go. And the same with this Argentinian. He's going to look at Nathan Jones and go, "What the fuck have you done? Like, you managed Luton, great. Like, he got a 10% win record at Stoke. Like, I just won't worry about who Southampton are signing or all these other. Just worry about Wolves. Like, if Lopetegui wants someone, he'll go out and get him. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah, definitely. One player that has been spoken about this weekend, Finn, as well, after his 11th goal of the season, is Fabio Silva. GM Dub says, is recalling Fabio Silva an option? If so, what do you think about it?
Definitely. Well, it's not an option in the contract, but
we'd have to buy him back.
Yeah, it's not an option if we cough up enough money. It's crazy that we're in a position where we have to buy back our own player for an extra 6 months. How we've even got into that, I'm not sure, but definitely an option. I mean, we all said 20 goals minimum, didn't we? If we're getting to the halfway point in the season, and he's on 11, he's basically there. So he's impressing. It's probably are you going to have two, as I just named there? You've got sort of three players that can play that number 9 role. If one goes out the door, then maybe look at it instead of risking a separate signing. I don't know, but definitely an option. It just depends how much. If you're going to have your pants pulled down on your own player to get him for another 6 months, and if he's developing well, then maybe not. But definitely an option if we're struggling.
Yeah, he's doing okay. I've seen certain. Anderlecht haven't had a great season. They're sort of 11th, I think, in the league right now. Lost again yesterday, despite his goal. And I think it'll be interesting to see, because I think the one praise that Anderlecht fans are giving him is his work right off the ball at the minute, pressing and so on. And I think with the way Lopetegui's sort of trying to play at the moment, it would be interesting to see. But I think Jord, probably best for him to stay out in Belgium, isn't it, for the rest of the season at the minute?
I would say so, yeah. And I think it's one of those things, really. I think we all want new signings. We'd all like Fabio back because, we haven't been putting the ball in the back of net. But for me, again, I'm looking at it probably a little bit more in a pragmatic way than I probably would be, or other Wolves fans, is if we come 17th this season or we come 12th, it's a write-off of the season anyway. So, why call Fabio back 6 months early for him to sit on the bench and maybe come on bit part player potentially? Like, there's no value in that for anyone. So I think a short-term striking option is probably the way to go for this season, because I do think that Raul probably, if he likes it or not, will be going by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if that's in January or in the summer. But fingers crossed we see some more transfer rumours over the next few days, lads. But that does bring an end to today's episode. Lots has been spoken about. I'm sure that we'll speak about a lot more as well next week with 2 massive games, Forest and West Ham coming up. So as always, guys, thank you very much for joining me. Jord, if people wish to follow you and find you on the internet, where are you?
Yeah, so Jord was 7 on Twitter and Instagram. And we are on the LinkedIn as always as well.
I've had a few connections, to be fair. Every time we shout it out, there's been a couple of people finding me on Facebook as well, which is a bit strange. But we'll move away.
I'm not on Facebook. I got rid of that a long time ago. There's only so much. Literally, there's only so many times I could load up Facebook and look at people that I probably met once in uni in a nightclub, and then they've got 3 kids in a pushchair.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit about it. Like,
we're talking about
that. I don't care.
Over the weekends, who was it? Someone I know of was pregnant or something. I was there. I don't know. I can't actually remember if anyone in my year has had a kid yet. There's a few of my mates that got married and stuff, but I think Facebook's the perfect thing for that, isn't it? Oh, flipping heck, you're entering from we haven't seen for 15 years, just about to have a kid or whatever. So, Finn, what about you? Yeah, vlogs are back, mate. So where can people find them?
Yeah, well, if you want to see me shout corrupt 100 times into a camera, then Finners on YouTube, FINERRZ, Twitter, Instagram. I think my LinkedIn's Finley Morris. It's hard with I suppose with our names, and probably yours as well. There's not too many of our names about, are there, Dave? Or I don't know if there's many Jord Russells about, are there? So like on Facebook, it's quite easy to find, isn't it? Quite there. So
I'll have to just change my picture to something really random, so no one actually.
You might have to do like what teachers do, where they have to like change their name to like to spell David in different ways.
I was going to say my middle name, but then that wouldn't work, would it? So
I actually had to talk about talking about that actually about 10, 11 years ago. I was in New Cross Hospital in A&E, and they called my name, and another chap stood up. He was literally had the same name as me in A&E. Like, he was 2 years older. We had to go off date of birth. Like literally, they kept saying, and date of birth off. Yeah, mate, it's mad. Like weird 3 hours.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Both of you just sat in the room together.
And the thing was, England were playing Albania in an international as well. So I was watching England in Albania with another George Russell, waiting to get seen.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got the George Russ about the micro penis, and you're both going.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll both borrow the same pump. Yeah.
And you can find me on Dave as a Party on Twitter, Instagram, and not Facebook, but LinkedIn if you want to. And obviously Talking Wolves everywhere for your latest Wolves news, transfer rumours, and all sorts as well. If you enjoyed today's podcast, if you're listening or watching on YouTube, be sure to hit a like and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please do leave us a review. And remember to join the Betmate game this week. The private pot, the code is TW-HC. And we're up against the Hammers Chat podcast. So fingers crossed we can get a win in that. And as always, guys, we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.